Community transformation, community transformation, the hope for Uganda community. Community transformation, community transformation, community transformation, the hope for Uganda. Community transformation, community transformation, community transformation, the hope for Uganda.
In a continent plagued with poverty, it takes so much personal effort as well as initiative to break out of the communal yoke of poverty. But then one needs luck as well, for in Africa, striving out as an individual to succeed is like swimming against a high tide. This is a familiar story on the continent of Africa. What is not familiar are the few stories of success where people have swum against this high tide of poverty and have not only changed their life, but have in turn acted as their brother's keepers, helping their fellow countrymen who live in poverty to get out of poverty. Over 80% of Uganda's population lives in the rural area. This is where poverty is highest. The hardest hit people are the women and children. Yet over 50% of the country's population in this tropical African country are children. This makes it a country of young people. This does not mean well for the future of the country. Here you have a majority of children growing up in poor conditions, which only perpetuates the position of the country as a poor nation. Valens Rutaisire is a product of this vicious cycle. He lost his father, who was the family breadwinner, at an early age, and the responsibility of fending for the family fell onto his mother, a rural poor woman. She did not just sit back and weep for herself. She got up and worked hard, but could not cover everything, especially the schooling of the young children. She approached a clergyman who led her to a charity that assumed responsibility for Valens's tuition. Valens did not disappoint her mother. He studied hard and completed his studies, and then he turned back to where he came from, to lift those young ones whom he had left in the village and assist them to get an education. That is how Yofafo, a non-government organization, was found.
Yofafo, as they normally call it, has come a long way since inception in 2005. We've been able to now open 3 schools, 2 primary schools and 1 recent one, the kindergarten. And then we've moved on, like since inception, focusing basically on education, health, and microfinance. In all these 3 schools, we are benefiting over 600 children.
We drove out to the first school that Yofafo set up. Some of the early buildings made out of wood are still standing, but a number of concrete ones have come up as well. This school is now an educational hub in the wilderness of a sugarcane plantation. This is where Tim Wright, a Briton from London, decided to come as a volunteer worker for Yofafo. He found out about Yofafo on the internet, where it offered voluntary work, and he decided to try it out. A retired oil and gas worker, Tim has found the unique experience of teaching English in this rural African primary school, an uplifting experience he says he won't forget easily.
Well, my experience that I've had so far, that the children at this school at Hopelands are extremely bright. They're extremely motivated. and they're a pleasure to teach. A pleasure. They're a real joy. And I think they're teaching me more about humanity than I could ever, or that I've learned in my life. And just being in Uganda, because it's my first time in this part of Africa, and I'm just inspired by the people that I've met.
With our education program, at this point we are considering starting a high school next year. That way we can be able to benefit quite a number of children. In our location right here at the children's village, we have at this children's village is grown, and we have now over 350 kids, and most of them, when they finish high school, when they finish primary school, they have nowhere to continue. And plus, the most important area, the most important concern for us is when we have a high school, we'll be able to reach out to more kids, and that is our plan. In the meantime, we are going to first use that block right there, and that will be our starting point. Next year we want to start S1 and S2, and from there we'll move to S3 and S4, like that. But the long-term plan is to build a high school and a vocational school in our 10-acre property that we've acquired, and we'll be able to place this facility there, such that the kids that cannot compete well academically, they can be able to get some vocational skills and trades to live on their own.
Yofafo's next showpiece is this rural microfinance project. This one has transformed the world of the rural woman. A volunteer couple, Simon Elliott and Daniela Innocent from Britain, also found out about this Yofafo project on the internet and chose to come to Uganda to work with the project.
So when we came here, we did an impact assessment. So we went through the old records, and we noted that 192 people have been granted loans since we came here, 75% which were women. Yofafo's given 830 loans in the last 6 years. The average loan is about 300,000 shillings, which in US dollar terms is about $120. And the savings, so before we arrived, villagers never saved before, was now on average they save about 120,000 shillings in their account, which is about $50, which doesn't sound like a lot to as people in the Western world, but down here that's a lot of money. So the tangible things are that, they've saved, they've borrowed money, and they've improved their houses and their livelihoods. So it's impressive stuff.
We are very once again thankful for everyone, the volunteers more especially. They've been such a great support in our efforts to transform these rural communities. All the volunteers around the world that have been part of what Yofafo is doing, we are proud of all your efforts and your contributions. And at this point, I want to really encourage everyone who wants to go out and do something. Yofafo is a place to be. And you learn a lot, and you get a good experience. We've placed our volunteer center now. It's fully our volunteer center has been furnished very well. We've completely finished our volunteer center, and you'll get a very comfortable stay here with Yofafo, but above all, helping to transform these women and the children.
Tim Wright, who has found the volunteer experience humbling, nevertheless recommends to anyone who is searching for a unique experience in voluntary work to brave it out and share the Yofafo experience.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to come. The experience is like no other. You will get no other experience in, whether it's teaching, whether it's life experience, whether it's being with children. There's no other experience like it. And don't be afraid. It's not easy. Conditions are not the same as in England. We don't have the same materials. We don't have the same the tools and equipment. But we make up for that by using our own imagination and our own creativity.
Simon and Daniela, who are a couple, which is a rare thing in volunteer work, have very high regard for the experience they have gained out of volunteering with Yofafo.
The only thing I'll say that people should think about is the length of time when you're doing field work, when you need to be involved with people. A month is a lot shorter than you think when you're working with people and you need to understand them and get on with and earn their trust. So I'd say even for us, 2 months feels a little bit short. So for any volunteering project, I'll put that into the equation when analysing any project.
What I've been impressed with, and what I'd say to future volunteers, this isn't a charity where you're going to sit around having meetings after meetings after meetings. It's very hands-on. So Valence will give you a lot of freedom to move the project forward. So you liaise with him and Doreen, but if you want to go and implement something, you have the possibility of doing it. And that, for me, having worked in other charities and other organisations, is probably the biggest plus fact for Yofafo. You get the freedom to really do what you want to do and help the project.